Okay, if this is your first time using the chainsaw, think safety first. And what you're going to want is, be a good idea to have not everyone uses these, but these, I think they call them chaps. They'll protect your legs. And you'll want to have a hard hat, and you'll want to have ear muffs. And I want to tell you a funny story. The first time I ever used a chainsaw 2 or 3 years ago, and my father-in-law was giving me a lesson, I could not rev the thing up and cut through the log because I was terrified at the noise it was making. It was so scary, the noise. And so I had to actually put the earmuffs on, and when it was quieter, I was actually able to go ahead and get it done. But so I'm going to show you kind of what kind of gas and oil you need to run your chainsaw, and then how to start it, and a few things to watch out for. But one of the things I want to show you while I have this view here is you want to make sure something you always got to be careful about is when you turn the chainsaw on, probably the thing that scares me the most is the kickback, if you've ever heard of kickback. And if you touch a log up on the front nose of your chainsaw, it'll kick back in your face. So you've got to make sure you hold your chainsaw steady and really respect the thing, and try to avoid cutting on the tip of your chainsaw. So that's kind of the most important safety things I can think of. The other safety thing I want to say is you got to really kind of study your wood pile and really respect those logs, and make sure you understand where the log's going to fall when you cut it, because if one of those things rolls on you, you're in trouble. Okay, so let's talk now about what kind of oils and gasoline you need for this thing. So, usually a gasoline will be like a part oil and a part gas, so you'll need to mix oil and gas, and you can't, my camera doesn't refocus, so I'll have to try and stop it. So here's the typical oil mix. So it's like 50 to 1 for 1 gallon. So what you do is you need a gallon of gas. I have about a gallon in there, and then you got to look to buy one of these. Whew, I cut my finger. That chain must have been good and sharp. Okay, so but sometimes these mixes are 40 to 1, I've noticed, and I guess it must make a difference. But something I discovered, I think last year, was these things. You can get them at Walmart, and it seems someone's just finally figured out how to come up with a one for all. See, one for all. So this 2-cycle, whatever this is, USZ. Maybe but you can pick this up at Walmart, and this will pretty much, again, it's you mix it with one, oh wait, where is it? Well, somewhere it does say you mix it with 1 gallon, I believe. I don't know where. Mixing directions, mix with 1 gallon, there on the back. So all you gotta do is open this and pour it into your gasoline, and then kind of let it dilute a little bit. The other thing you need is chainsaw oil. To keep your chain lubricated. So this is bar and chain oil, and I'm gonna mix up the oil, and I'm gonna show you where to put these inside your chainsaw. So now I'm gonna go ahead and mix up the this oil with the gasoline, and you just kind of have to do this every once in a while. You'll be able to get a lot of wood cutting with 1 gallon, but I'd say if you were cutting all day, there's probably enough in 1 gallon to keep you going almost all day. You might need to go through 2 of these in a day. So you gotta go ahead and break this open, and then you just go ahead and pour it in, and make sure you get it all in there. I like this one for all stuff. Helps ignorant guys like me. But if you know anything about this stuff and you've heard it's bad, let me know, and maybe I'll stop using it. So, okay, so that I'm going to just kind of let it mix and dilute a little bit. So we'll go ahead and get the chainsaw down, and I don't know if you can see. Okay, good. So, so the gas tank is back here. So sometimes it's really hard to get this open, so you don't want to screw that on too tight. Well, I'm going to do the gas last, actually. I'm going to give that a little time to kind of dilute. So that you can see, the bar oil is out here in front. Oh man, I had to go get some leverage here. little one of these guys, but seems to have done the trick. So pop that lid off, and I think any chain oil is good. It doesn't. I mean, I'm sure some do a better job than others, but I don't think there's like a certain type of chain oil that you need to make sure you don't use. But there is. I do know that there are two different kinds of oils that sometimes you do want to use, and it'll say one is for cold weather and one is just normal. So the other one is watch out for when it gets colder, you'll want a different kind of oil, and it does say that. So now I think that gas is mixed enough, so we'll go ahead and get this one off. Okay, that wasn't that bad. Okay, sorry about that. The chainsaw, or the phone or camera battery died. So now I actually cut some wood and I'm refilling the fluid levels. Typically, you could depending on the size of the logs, you could probably get through 2 or 3 logs. But you'll have to refill the chain oil every time you refill the gas. So don't just refill the gas. Make sure you refill the bar oil too. Okay. And in a minute we'll go through the startup procedure again once I refill this, because I think that's where the camera cut out. But just refilling real quick. Okay. Don't fill too much. Alright. What did I say? A couple logs, 2 or 3 logs maybe you'll get through on a tank of gas. Okay, so now it's really simple to start one of these up. They have the directions here, so I already did the cold start, so I'm going to do a warm start. You're going to want to make sure this button is in the up position. And you're just going to want to follow the directions on your chainsaw, but usually you'll have to prime the engine if it's cold. If it's warm, I don't need to do that. Then you'll need to pull the choke full. This is the choke, and you pull it all the way out. There are 2 different positions, so then you push it in a little bit, and that's a half choke, and then all the way in is all the way in. So then it tells you once you do it to full choke to pull this 5 or 6 times, and I think this might be where the camera cut out, but what I recommend, and what I've noticed with the Poulan Pro, I don't know if it's like that for other chainsaws, but when you're doing those 5 pulls, it's can be tough, but at some point near 5 or 6, you'll actually, when you pull it slowly, you'll feel the disc inside do a spin, and then you know the next time you do it, it's ready. But follow the instructions. If it says do 5, do 5, and then put it to half, and you're ready to pull. And if it's still warm enough, you might not even need to put it to half, but if it's not quite warm enough, then go ahead and put it to half. Then you go ahead and pull, and it starts up. The one safety tip that I'll mention for now, and I'm going to do a separate video later on how to actually attack a wood pile, some tips and strategies and safety tips, what to look for and how to go after it. But for now, I'll just say, so check out the video at the end of this video. I'll have a link. But this is an important part of your chainsaw. And you're just going to have to learn, you can bump this with the back of your hand, and that'll lock the blade from moving, or the chain from moving. It won't be able to move. If this is back, the chain can move. And in order to start this thing, you're going to want it to be released so the chain can move. And see, this is getting pretty loose. After you run it for a while, you might want to tighten the chain up a little bit. And watch my bar replacing a chain video to explain that. Hey kids. Okay, so yeah, just whenever, if anything concerning is happening and you want to stop the chain from moving, make sure to just push that forward and you'll hear it click, and that'll lock the chain. Okay, but we want to start it. The other thing you need to know is once we pull this and it starts going, there's two buttons here. You need to push them both in order for the chain to start moving. So let's go ahead and do that one time here. See if we can start it. Okay. Oh, see, so that I'm going to pull it out to half. Okay, let's try that again. So, get it going. And if you ever want to stop the chainsaw, there's usually a kill button. And if you want to just put the chainsaw down for a minute while you go move a log around or something, that's when you throw that forward to lock it. Then you can set it on the ground. And I'll just give you one more tip now. We'll look at cutting a piece of wood here. And again, the next video will actually be talking about some tips, safety tips and strategies for attacking a wood pile like this. But in general right now I'll say sometimes it has to do with the tension face of the log. So if these are hanging over this log here, then that means, if you can imagine, the log is sticking out over here. This is the end of the log. It's sticking out over this log. It's hanging and it wants to open up at the top. Okay? Right here it wants to open up. That means that's where the tension face is. Right over this support is where the tension face is. And you always want to cut on the tension face. So these ones on the end are really easy to cut. So I would recommend starting with the ends first. And then by the time you get to the middle, there are different techniques we'll talk about for that. But let me just show you cutting the log real quick. And just start from the top down for now. And we'll talk about other strategies later. If that was any help to you, oh, if you even saw that, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe and stay tuned for another how-to video.